ClipCut Parks. This is a very innovative game. It was based on an idea that's been not seen before. I'm a big fan of roll and draw games, and now we have a roll and cut game, in which, similarly to what you do in roll and draw, you're gonna try to cover an area to create a certain geometric shape, but you do it by cutting out elements of a sheet of paper that you receive at the beginning with different configurations of terrain. Isn't that cool? So the game comes with a set of scissors. Each player will take one. Then you have a deck of cards, such as these ones. You shuffle them and you give 5 to each player. 2 are face up at the beginning of the game, and 3 are in their personal pile. You can also add these other cards that are more challenging, have a different back for a more challenging game, in which case each player will have the same number of more challenging cards in their personal deck. The idea is you're trying to complete your parks by covering the diagram on your cards entirely. When you complete a part by covering a diagram, you discard that card and you get another one out, and the first player to complete 5 parks and to deplete their deck wins the game. But how do you do so? Thank you for asking. There's a special die here at the beginning of each turn. Somebody rolls it, doesn't matter whom. And what you have is the number of cuts that every player is now going to perform on their own personal sheet. As you can see, there are different types of terrain, mainly or at least intuitively marked by color, but I also see different patterns that should help colorblind or color challenge players. Then you have other symbols indicating an animal-friendly spot, recycling. And so, for example, here we need to have a cut by 1, a cut by 1, and a cut by 2. And you must perform those cuts if you can. Also, you cannot add together straight cuts to make them longer. That is, I performed a 1 cut there. The unit here is the number of sides, and I cannot have the other 1 here or the other 2 here to make it into a 2 and a 3. But I could, for example, perform my 2 cut here, like so. I'm not cutting very straight, but that's okay, you get the general idea. And then suppose I want to do my 1 here. Once you have performed your cuts, then you place all of the things that fell off your main board onto your parks if you can. If you can't place them and you crumple them and you put them next to you, because that will be a tiebreaker. There's a tie, the player with the fewest crumpled balls of paper wins the game. That is the player that was able to avoid creating unnecessary waste. 3 and 3, hooray! And so suppose now we want to do a 3 and 3, so I'm going to do it like this. 1, 2, 3, like so, and 3. I have performance anxiety. I'm afraid you're going to see me cut wrong. There you go. Clearly, the things that you put there must follow the general shape, but there are a couple of other restrictions. If the diagram has the pause symbol or the recycling symbol, then you can cover it only with something that has that symbol on it. Like here we have the pause thingy. And then suppose I have 4 1 cuts, then I do 1, 2, and then I'll do 2 more, but this way I'm able to show you that I covered that with the paw. Actually, come to think of it, oh, look at that, I have another one here, and then another one here, totally random. Oh no, I already had it here, totally random. There you go, there. Oh, I completed a park, in which case, as I said, I'm gonna discard it, and I get a bonus. In this case, I get a token that will allow me to ignore a color restriction. So the restrictions are that some spaces you need to place a specific color on them. paw and recycling we talked about. The little bridges are super tricky because they indicate that the parts that cover that area have to come from the same piece of paper. So I could not place a 1 and a 1 here. I had to place a 2, or at least a 2. If I place an L there, even better. But then I would need to get the green restriction, the paw restriction, and so that becomes a lot more challenging. But just to give an example of that, how to cover that bridge, A3 and A3. And that is, my friends, totally impossible to place. So that's just an example how you can make mistakes. Oh, perfect example of what happens when you're stupid. You can place it. No, I can place it. No, I can't place it. I was happy because the yellow would match that one. But again, I would need something to match that one. But suppose that I was less stupid and for some reason I had this piece here, then that would have worked. So this is the general idea. Cut, 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 cut. Complete parks, get bonuses, the token that lets you ignore color restriction, the token that you can spend to ignore a paw or recycling restriction. Continue like this until somebody has completed 5 parks and the player wins the game. ClipCut Parks, which is not as easy to pronounce as it sounds. You haven't seen all of the footage that I have edited out because of all the ClipCut Park, ClipCut Park, click. So ClipCut Parks is a very enjoyable game. It feels different. It's just has a different flow, a different feel. To me, games, and one of the reasons why I play tabletop games is because I like the tactile feel. And that's why I like draw and roll and draw, whatever and draw games. You're so interacting so directly with the components. And here the idea of destroying the game as you play, there's a certain charm to it, and you don't have to commit to a big, complicated legacy game. Now we can destroy even smaller games. Isn't that a great, magical time to be alive? It is, in no small part because we have so many fun, creative, new, fresh ideas in gaming. And again, where you cut your own components and you make your little puzzles, you make your little mosaics. It's a fun idea. Gameplay is so simple, it's so intuitive, but it really creates interesting puzzles here because there are just so many things to consider. The idea is so intuitive. Cover those darn squares. I played it with my daughters, and they're now 8 and 9. I could have played when they were 4. Yeah, I think I would have trusted them with the scissors then, and they wouldn't have been so good at it, strategically speaking, but the rules, they could have gotten it easily. So you can definitely play with younger children as long as you're okay with the scissor stuff. It's so simple, and yet you find yourself getting stuck with certain things that you just can't pull off. You're trying to plan ahead, doing those partial cuts, and then when you get a longer one, there will be a nice cascade of little pieces that you can put everywhere, and then you realize you miscalculated, and so there is just that piece or that piece you can't fit, and there's a crumpled little ball that looks at you accusingly and is gonna count against you at the tiebreaker. Also, you basically wasted that material, that opportunity to work towards your score. Even trickier, even challenging, and maybe this will apply more to adult players than to children, because children want to go towards the big next thing. I need that one, I'm gonna cut that thing. There's beauty in that. But as an adult, I'm trying to do all of these super complicated, wild coyote kind of plans, and so I'm setting up very complicated situations. And then I realize that I get to a point where I'm forced to put cuts in that do not really give me what I want. They're gonna cut out like half or almost half of what I have because these cuts are so deep. So in the later phase of the game, if you're an overambitious, miscalculating gamer such as myself, it becomes even more fun and painful because you find yourself at risk of wasting more parts of your board, including a certain cut will remove a part of your personal board and maybe contain an almost perfect section that you just were so close to be able to put down and you failed. Meanwhile, your kid is like, I need a piece, I'm gonna put it there. Oh, I need that piece, I'm gonna put it there. It's fun. It's fun because actually you can approach it with these different strategies. You can take more risk or less risk. There's an element of push your luck here because you can create some complex setups, and if you get the right number of cuts, then you'll pull them off. But in push your luck games, very often you have to push your luck. That's all that you can do. There's a game in which you can choose how much ambition you want to put into it, how much luck you want to push, and that's great. There is flexible gameplay, a lot more than actually I realized at first, because there are only those two parks, and this is what I can cut from the edges. But you don't have to produce a new piece every time. Again, you can go in, be all ambitious if you can pull it off. I was pleasantly surprised. I liked the idea when I heard about it, when I read about it online, and I thought it was gonna be simple, easy, silly fun. But this game has more. It is a simple light game. It's a family game, but it's a game that actually I could play with adults during game night. I wouldn't have any problem. I think this will have a presence in game night when I start having game night with adult friends again after the pandemic. But definitely it's a game that I think doubles as a game you can play with your gaming adult friends, and a game that works very well as a family, with children, with your spouse. If your spouse is not into games, this game is so intuitive that your spouse can play, but at the same time it has interesting decisions, interesting challenges, and creates the opportunity for regretting a lot of decisions, which in my opinion is a good thing in a game, because it gives you the incentive to risk, and then you regret it, and that's just part of the game, and that's why we play games, because we want to challenge ourselves, and because even when bad stuff happens, is within the confines of the game, so it's okay. In sum, ClipCut Parks. It's a fun game, and I'll probably never mention aloud again. So hope you enjoyed it while it lasted, but it's a fun game. Just difficult to say.